Hey everybody, it's Kenya Buck in Brooklyn. We are headed down to Paradise Pond, so join us. Well, I'm back from Texas. It was a wonderful trip. My niece was absolutely beautiful. Her husband was gorgeous on their wedding day. They got married on President Johnson's ranch, which is absolutely humongous. It's about 10 miles long one way and 10 miles long the other way. It's huge. So at the very way back, there's a house called the Sunshine House, and it's out at the absolute back, and that's where they got married. I'll be posting some videos of the wedding or pictures. Like I said, everyone was just beautiful. I'm kind of out of breath. The trip there, the plane rides were fine. Then Friday, we had heard on the news that they were cutting 10% of the flights, and everybody that was flying was very worried. And my sister kept saying, we'll deal with it when we deal with it. We'll deal with it when it comes. That's the bride of the mother of the bride. Then my other sister, who lives in town here, which our relationship is a little on the wonky side, they kept saying, well, you guys can just ride back with us. And Mom and I kept saying, no, we'll still take the plane, and if we can't, Kenya will just rent a car and we'll drive back. And my sister kept saying, no, just ride with us. Well, I had an appointment yesterday to have my internet changed over. My mother and father had an appointment to find out about their health insurance, which in the news, that's going up also. So it was very important that we get back Monday night. And the sister that was offering, they had their, my brother-in-law's mother, she went to the wedding, and they have a 3-row car, but they have to, come on, Brooklyn, come on, baby. They have to, she's got a wheelchair. And they're like, well, we'll just fit you in. And I kept telling my mom and my nephew, I can't ride with her, because she blamed, all my life she's always blamed me for everything. She's blamed me because I was born. She blamed me because I was sick. Just anything and everything, it's my fault. Come on, Buck. Come on, baby. So it's just a really strained relationship. And I try really hard, and she tries hard. It's just a strained relationship between us. And so they left Sunday, and my brother-in-law and his mom wanted to stop in Dallas to visit her uncle, or her brother, which was my brother-in-law's uncle. And they were there for 4 or 5 hours. Then they went up to Oklahoma City, stayed up there overnight, watched my niece's son play soccer. And I'm like, Mom, if we have to drive, I'll pay half it. I'll pay half the car. When I get my bonus, I'll just give it to you. And she's like, well, let's just check the airlines. And I was constantly checking. And it was fine from Austin to Dallas, but the Dallas flight was what was a little iffy. And then Saturday night, it gave us a gate number for Dallas. And I said, we have a gate number. And the entire time it said travel alert. No gate number, no nothing. So when we got the gate number, the travel alert went off. I said, we have a travel gate number. You know, now we just need the terminal and stuff. Sunday we got the terminal. It said on time. And so we kept checking. It was good to go, good to go. So Monday, we got up. We were at Danny's house, my sister down in Texas. We got up, watched some TV while she did a little bit of work. Then we went to Buc-ee's. I did get to go to Buc-ee's. I have some video of that. I'll throw on either this video or on a video. On a different video. Then we started heading towards Austin. And halfway to Austin, Georgetown, the traffic just stopped. There was this humongous wreck, and we were just moving micro inch by micro inch. And we were thinking, are we even going to get to Austin? Half hour later, we got off of the interstate, and we're only going maybe a half a mile. That's how far to this ramp. So after about half hour, we actually got on the ramp and went around, and this tiny little car had run into a semi. The semi went off the roll. Semi with a trailer went off the road and had rolled, and the car was just crunched big time. And I said, oh, I hope to God that nobody died, but I'm sure somebody did. Probably the person in the car. Excuse me. So then we had a little bit of time left, so my sister stopped and bought some stuff for my brother-in-law's business. And then we went to Austin. We got through TSA fine. Both the TSA at Rapid and Austin. Since I have wires in my chest and my mom has an artificial knee, we both had to go through the full body x-ray, and they patted me down big time in Austin. And then I had to take my shoes off and have them x-rayed. I don't know why my shoes, I have no clue, but it's all good. I told them, I said, it's the wires in my chest. I've had a transplant. But, the TSA agents, everybody at the airlines were fantastic. And I do not hold any grudge against them, because they have been working for 40 some days without pay now. So, because the government is shut down. So we got on we had to wait for a couple hours for our plane to Dallas. And so we waited, and they kept changing the gates. Come on, Buck. We're going down. We're going down this way. They kept changing the terminals, the gates at the terminal. And so we'd be sitting there, and we'd look at our phone, and it would say a different gate. So then we'd run down there, and I'd look up there, and it'd be the wrong flight number, and we look at the phone, and it was back at the other one. So that happened a couple of times. And finally it was set at the right gate. And so we only had to wait maybe 10 minutes to get on the plane. And we took off. The plane ride was supposed to be like 50 minutes, but we got there 15 minutes early. But then we sat on the tarmac for 25 minutes, just waiting to get up to the gate. And the reason why we had to sit so long is because of the government shutdown. There's not very many controllers. The planes were piling up. We watched 16 American Airlines take off. And when we were up in the air, the attendant said, we have 2 people that's going to LaGuardia in New York. And let me call Buck in Brooklyn back. And they asked if we could let them go first. Well, by the time we got to the gate, everybody was saying that their plane was taking off. When we were standing in line to get off, we had 6 minutes to get to our gate. And we were at B16, and our next flight was B2. And if you've ever flown out of Dallas-Fort Worth, it is humongous. They have trams to take you to the different sections. Like if you're in A, they got a tram to take you to A and B, and then they got another tram to take you to C and D, and then the building for the B, which is where we were, it's so long. And at some point, so we were at gate 16, and they said, now we're going to be at gate 7. And I told Mom, I said, we can get to gate 7. That's no problem, because it's 5 gates away. Then they said, no, we're going to go back to B16. And I knew we didn't have much time. And my mother does not walk well. She held on to me the entire time. And I said, we're going to have to book it. We're going to have to walk really fast. And she goes, I don't know if I can. And I said, we'll try to find a wheelchair. I said, but we've got no time. By the time we got off the plane, we had 2 minutes. And as we were getting off the plankway, a lady came down with a wheelchair. And I said, we need that. We need to get to B2. And she goes, when are you guys taking off? And I said, in 2 minutes. And she goes, oh God. And so we got out of the plankway. She handed it off to another lady, and we went running. And they kept saying, are you holding on? And I'm like, are you guys catching up? I'm fine, you know. And the lady was whistling to get people out of the way and stuff. We got to the gate right as they were letting people on. They were a little bit late. They were a couple of minutes late on letting people on. So we got there just in time. So we were on time for the plane, and we were all ready to go. And I sat in the middle seat the entire time, except for from Dallas back to Rapid City. And I had my hoodie on and a long sleeve shirt underneath, and that was it. And I knew Rapid was going to be colder, but you know, I didn't know how cold it was going to be. It had snowed an inch while we were in Texas, so I figured it was going to be cold. But we were parked almost right on top of the building, so I told my mom, I said, when we get there, I will put you at the luggage carousel, and then I will run out and start the car, get it warm, and come back and get the luggage. So as we were starting to take off, where the lights were up above, I had all of the air things up above. They've got little things that you can turn the air on if you get too warm and stuff. I turned all those off because I'm thin, very thin. I have no meat on me, no fat on me, and I'm already freezing. So I felt this cold air coming in, and I kept trying to figure out where it was coming from. And it was coming from where the lights were. There was air coming in there, and it was freezing cold. And halfway through, I had my hat on, and then I put my hood and my hoodie up. I did that right away when we were in Texas, or at Dallas. And I kept getting colder and colder. Finally, halfway through, after we had had our snack and stuff, and drink. I finally crawled up and made myself a ball. And I put my arms around my hat and to get my face warm and stuff. And I sat that way the entire 2 hours and 45 minutes. Well, not 2 hours and 45 minutes because I had sat regular for 45 minutes. But we were supposed to have an hour's wait in between Austin and Dallas. And so I said to my mom, I said, let's just run into a little eating area and just grab a sandwich. We can eat it on the plane. Both of us were starving. Nope. Didn't get a chance to do that. So I'm like, oh God, I hope they've got something good. A little bag of pretzels. That's all they had. So I was starving by the time I got back to Rapid City. And so we got out, both went to the bathroom because I have to pee all the time. Sorry, Brooklyn was pooing and I captured her pooing. So I went and started the car, got the air on the highest it would go, got the seat warmers on, got the steering wheel on, got my gloves, grabbed my mom's winter coat, took it in, and then we sat there and waited for the bags. Finally got the bags and went out to the car and got in the car. Now we have to pay for the place to store our car. And so I drove up and my mom said she would pay for it. And I said, are you sure? I said, I can pay for it. And she's like, I didn't spend any money in Texas. The only thing she did was buy lunch for Danny and I. After we had gone to Buc-ee's. And so she said, yes, I'll pay for it. And I said, well, I will buy McDonald's. Because that was the only place open. And she's like, okay, $90. That's what it was. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Holy buckets. So we drove out. And by the time we got to the car, it was already very, very hot in there. Which, that's what I wanted. So we drove and drove and drove, and we get to McDonald's, and I ordered just a plain hamburger for me, a plain hamburger with ketchup and pickles for my mom, and a Coke for me, and a water for her. And the guy says, okay, that'll be $3. And I'm thinking, that's not right. So I drove up the window and I said, that's not right. He goes, well, that's what you ordered. I said, no. He said, I ordered just a plain hamburger with pickles and ketchup and a Coke. Well, why didn't you say that? I said, I did. So then he charged me the right amount. We get to the next window. And I said, hi. And the guy just looked at me. I said, can I get my receipt? He just looked at me. I said, thank you so much. He just looked at me. So, yeah. It was a great trip. I didn't realize that I was going down to Texas to work. It's chilly out. That's why I'm breathing so hard. I thought I was going to go to the rental house, relax for a day and a half, and get dressed, go to the wedding, then go back to Annie's, go to Buc-ee's, that kind of stuff. No. So I get to Texas. Danny picks us up. We go straight to the rental house. And we drop off our luggage. Then we immediately go out so at the Johnson Ranch, by where President Johnson lives, there's another house, and it's called the Guest House. And that's where my niece and her future husband were staying, and his best man. So we went to the guest house, and then we toured the entire Johnson Ranch. We saw the Air Force One, and Danny told us that that was the first plane that was the actual Air Force One. No other president had used a plane. And so I thought that was neat, and I got video of that and stuff. We got video of his house, just the security, Secret Service house, just all that kind of stuff. Come on, Buck. Come on, Brooklyn. So then we go out to the Sunshine House and drop a bunch of stuff off. And then we went back, and everybody else was at the no. We didn't go back. We went to a restaurant where everybody else was. And it was a burger joint, and I have a hard time with meat. So I just ordered the kids' meal, and I ate a fourth of the burger. It was really good. It was called Fat Boy Burgers. Really, really good. I couldn't eat it because of my esophagus. And then we went back to the rental house, and I had been up since 2:50 a.m. because when we were getting ready to go, I was so scared that I was going to miss my alarm. And so when I woke up at 2:50, I thought, I better just get up. So my mom and I, we were exhausted. So when we got back to the rental house, we just went to bed. The next morning, we get up and go to the Sunshine House. And I didn't know why, but we got to the Sunshine House and we worked. Me and my nephew Devin, my sister Danny, and the bride worked for 5 hours trying to get everything set up. And I'm like, isn't the groom's family gonna help? Danny said no. Come on, Buckaboo. And so I'm like, okay. So then we worked for like 5 hours getting everything set up. Oh, and my brother-in-law helped also. And so then we went back to the rental house, and we had the rehearsal supper. So everybody got dressed, and we went into Johnson City, which is a town named after President Johnson. And we went to the little, I think it's like a bar with a restaurant. And we went to the back, and we had supper. And Danny had this nice menu and everything. Of course, I can't eat meat. And they had breaded chicken, mashed potatoes, vegetables, and trout. And so I went up and I got my mom's plate. And then they had like a charcuterie board. And gotta get my dogs back. They're way too far ahead. And I said to the lady, I'd like baked fish on this side. She said, you want chicken on the other side? And I said, no. I said, I don't eat meat. And she looked at me like, you're in Texas, woman. And she goes, oh, there's mashed potatoes and vegetables. And I said, I don't eat mashed potatoes, but I will have vegetables. So it was just zucchini and squash. It was really good. I got everything for my mom. And then they had like bruschetta and deviled eggs and artichoke dip. But the bruschetta, the bread was supposed to be toasted, but it wasn't. But it was just, the crust was really hard. And it popped my mom's bottom dentures. So So then we went back to the rental house, and I went back in because I wanted to watch the news because of the closure of the government, and then the airlines. You know, we were all just really worried about it. And then we went to bed. And then the next day was the wedding. So we stayed at the rental house until about 1. And then we went out to the Sunshine House and watched the wedding and everything, and stayed. And what you doing, baby girl? And my mom, she is very wobbly when she walks. She says I walk like a drunken sailor. Her words, not mine. And we sat in the sun for an hour and a half, and the Texas sun is brutal. And so I had to take my mom to the bathroom, and she was literally almost falling over. And so I said, do you want to go back to the rental? She's like, yeah. So I said, do you think Twyla would want to go back? She said, go ask. So I asked Twyla. That's Dave's mom. It's my brother-in-law's mom. And she said, yeah, this music is too loud for me. So I went and got my nephew, and I said, oh, Mom's not doing very well. Can you take us back to the rental? And he's like, of course. And we were standing by my sister, who lives in town here. She was in the wheelchair. She said, what's going on? And I said, well, Mom's not doing very well. You know, she almost fell over, and she just wants to go lay down. Come on, baby. Buck. Buck. Come on. Talk about a dirty look. And I'm just like, you know, I was there to take care of my mother. You know, I wanted to go to see Casey, my niece, get married. But my main job was to assist with my mother. I just shook my head. So then we went back to the Sunshine, or to the rental. And we watched TV, and then people started pouring in. And we went to bed. So then the next day, my nephew, who had brought us back to the rental, had to leave at 5:30 because he was flying back to Murray, Kentucky on Sunday. And so they had to take him. When I woke up, it was me, my mom, and my niece's son, the only ones there, because Don and Dave and Twyla had left at 6. My niece's, Alyssa's family left at 6 to go back to Oklahoma City. My other niece, Renee, and her family had gone back to Magnolia, Texas the night before. My nephew Tyler and his family went back to Dallas. So it was just, you know, just us three. So we cleaned the house like the instructions said and everything. And then we went out to the Sunshine House and we cleaned for another 6 hours. And I said, where's the groom's family? They're not here. And I was just like, are you kidding me? You know, I guess. So then we went back to Danny's house and come here, Brooklyn. And went to bed. Next day went to Buc-ee's and a restaurant, and then went to Austin and flew out. So that was basically my trip. What are you doing, Buck? We gotta go to Grandma's house. Come on. Don't worry, baby girl. We gotta go to Grandma's house. Tell Buck to hurry up. Are you eating another deer leg, bud? Yes, you are. All right, everybody, we're going to leave you here. We're in the car. Remember to hug somebody you love. Subscribe, like, and comment. And we will see you next time. Talk to you later. Bye.